Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. So these videos are of me painting a Reborn start to finish. This is video number 2, so if you haven't seen number 1, go over to my channel and just scroll down a little bit and you'll be able to see painting a Reborn start to finish video number 1. I'm going to try to put this in a playlist for you guys so you can just access them all in one spot, just if you want to skip to the end or the beginning. But yeah, this is just video number 2. I'm sorry that this video is coming out a while after number 1, but like I said, I'm gonna try to put them in a playlist for you guys. So later on, once I finish them all, then they will all be there for you to access. So the step we left off was just prepping the kit. In video number 1, we washed it. We put thinning medium on it. Baked it a lot of times, so he is ready for painting. So the first step in actually putting on color and painting the kit is I do veins and blue undertones next. And some people do it in the middle, the end, but for me, I like to do it in the beginning so I can layer other paint on top of it to make them less visible and just look like they're underneath the skin. Yeah, like giving that depth and stuff like that. I might do a neutralizing layer just to make it a little bit not as orange, because this kit is pretty orange compared to like Bountiful Baby kits. They're pretty like pale, or other kits that are made nowadays, they are pretty pale, but this one is kind of like an orangish color. So in video number 1, I kind of talked about like the colors that neutralize it, and so it's pretty much the opposite color of orange on the color wheel. So I'm gonna be doing like probably a blue wash. So yeah, that's probably what I'm gonna do next, and that also just gives it a good depth to like the skin as well, because I'll be layering paint on top of it. So I just have this like light turquoise color. I don't know, I think it might be pre-mixed. Let me see. Oh yeah, so this is the color straight out of this. It's from Bountiful Baby. It is Phthalo Green 06. But yeah, this is like the light turquoise color. I might have added some more white into this one just to make it a little bit more pale. But I think I'm gonna do a layer of that and then see how it looks from there. You might want to use a darker blue, like this blue. See how this is like more greenish blue, and this is more like a blue with like a little bit of red in it, like more of a magenta blue on the color wheel. I really wish I had a color wheel, like physical one, so I could show you guys what kind of where it is on the color wheel so you guys can understand. But I'm just gonna try this color. Like I've only made well, I've probably made like 100 Reborns. Let's see. I only made like 100 Reborns before, which is actually like a lot, but like artists, you like always keep growing and changing your work and just getting better and better. So I still consider myself in like the learning stage. So I'm somewhat still experimenting. Like I know like the process and like what I want to achieve, but it's like the process of getting there. It's gonna be kind of trial and error still in some areas. So let's see. I think this is pretty thin. I might just add a little bit more, just thinner into it, so it's not that thick. So like right now it's like the consistency of a milk, but like as you can see, if I push it, like rock it up, it like comes down pretty fast because I just put a little bit more thinner in it. Before it looked like the consistency of milk, so this is a little bit like tiny bit, not quite skim milk. It's not skim milk, but it's in between like whole milk and skim milk. Hopefully that gives you a good like example to know what consistency it is. So I think this is the sponge I was using. So I'm just going to paint it on and then pounce it off with a sponge. So that's what I usually do for washes. Sometimes I just get the paint and I put it on the sponge and then I pounce it all, like, you know, pat it down, press it like a stamp all the way around the kit. But this is just like the beginning wash layers and it's not that thick, so I'm just gonna paint it on and then pounce it off. That's why you don't want it like really thick. You don't want it like milk consistency, because, well, you can paint with milk consistency type paint, but it will build up in the creases and you have to make sure you like dust them out once it dries, and like make sure the paint didn't build up in the cracks, especially if it's like a blue color, before you bake it. Because you can, before you bake it, you can rinse it off like with a paint thinner. You can like erase all of the paint that you've done, but the paint that you painted on and then baked it, it will be on there permanent unless you get alcohol and just like get it all off, and that will make the kit blank. It will not keep any paint. It's for stripping all of the paint you've put on. So I'm just mixing up the paint again, and I mix up the paint every single time I dip my paintbrush into the paint. The reason why is because it separates out. It doesn't get fully mixed. And so there's a little piece of dust on there. And so it doesn't get fully mixed up, and it separates once it's been sitting a little bit. So I just want to make sure it's even. It doesn't smear any like thick spots at all. So I just mix it up every single time I get new paint out of the jar. So I'm just pouncing it because when I paint it on with the paintbrush, it will leave streaks, like lines of paint. And so I'm just pouncing wherever I put the paint down, so it blends it down super nicely, so there's no streaks. It's all like blended evenly. So you see this bend is so you can kind of pick that up on camera. It is wet, so that's why it's like all shiny and stuff like that compared to the face. But you can just see like that it is darker compared to like the face. So I'm mixing it up again. I'm pushing my paintbrush on the edge so I can get the excess out of it, and then you might want to just dab a little bit off so it doesn't run paint all over. So hopefully the lighting is better in this video. The first video I did, I had a lot of lights on, but when I looked at the video, it was really dark. So I was kind of bummed about that, but hopefully you could see everything and I explained it enough that it made sense. So the reason why I'm pouncing like this, I might have already explained this before, but I'll probably keep explaining it over and over again, is that I just want to push it down, lift it up, push it down, lift it up, because I don't want to smear it. Because if you smear it, that's gonna make the paint on the edges of the sponge build up, and where the sponge swiped across is gonna be less paint, so it's gonna look blotchy and not even. So you just want to like dab it all around. It's pretty much like putting on makeup. I don't wear a lot of makeup. I don't really wear foundation at all. But like all the like YouTube videos and stuff that I've watched of people doing makeup, like with the beauty blender, they just like blend by like pouncing it instead of like smearing, because then you'll just have lines all over your face like with blotchy foundation. So mixing it up. wiping it off, and I'm just like getting more paint out of my paintbrush because I'm going to be painting the face now, and he has lots of cracks and crevices on his face, so I don't want any of the paint to build up, especially like a blue color in his like creases. So I'm just lightly going over it just to give him a wash. And then since there's less paint in my paintbrush, I'm just going to go over to his ears and paint all of the cracks around his ears, just so there's not a lot of paint in it, but it covers it with the blue. So I'm just going to pounce all over. And I think this was a good choice, this blue. I haven't painted a lot of kits that are like orangey. I've just painted mostly kits that are very neutral to begin with. So I'm still kind of experimenting with which blue to neutralize the vinyl. But I think this did a good job. Even if it didn't neutralize it as good as a different color, it just gave it like a deeper overall tone, so it can now be built upon and make it look like the underlying like blood and veins and everything deep down like in the skin of a human. So just giving it good undertones. Okay, and so with his cracks on his face, I'm going to just take a brush and the same with the sponge, just pounce in all of his cracks so the paint hasn't built up in them, so I can get that paint out if there is any paint, and just blend it out in within the ears. So yeah, that is another layer, and let's see, okay, I'm just looking at it. It looks pretty good. So now I'm going to let this dry, and I'm gonna paint some other undertones, like the veins and like the undertones around his eyebrows and stuff like that. Okay, so the doll is finished drying. He's a little bit not fully dry in some spots, but I am going to start working on his undertones. So I'm going to get this blue, which is called Vein Blue, because it is a pre-mixed color from Bountiful Baby. So I don't have the label on this, but it's pretty much like that color. You can see it more in the cap of like what color it is. So this is the Vein Blue from Bountiful Baby pre-mixed paint. So I just have it in this jar here, so it's mixed already with thinner. And so blues, you always want to have them very, very thin. So if you see this, like it looks dark, but just look at how like fast it like washes down. This is as thin or even thinner than skim milk. It's pretty much just colored water. So if you see how fast like or how watery that is. So it's the consistency of skim milk or even thinner than that. And this is because especially this vein blue or blues that are dark like this, they will stain the vinyl. So you make sure you want to have it as thin as possible and like build up the layers. Because if you put too much on and try to wipe it off with a sponge, it soaks into the vinyl and stains it. So you will not be able to get it out of the vinyl. And so it'll be very dark blue. So definitely keep it thin. So I'm just mixing it up here, making sure it's all mixed in, wiping the excess off, dabbing it on the paper towel, and then I just have a sponge here that I've dabbed blue off before with, so I'm just gonna grab that, and And so the blue undertones, what I like to do is I do blue undertones, the what's the word? Over the eye. Okay, I was just looking at it. Okay. Over the eyes in like the brow, like the brow bone, like not really on the brow bone, like the part that is sticking up, but right here, like the indent, like the ditch, I guess you could call it. But yeah, the indent part of the brow bone. So right here and right here above the eyes. And then I do above the eyes and below the eyes, but just like really like thin. I do maybe a little bit under the eyes more dark, because the eyelids are mostly like dark with like purples and the underneath is more like pale with blue. And then I do across the nose, because they always have like that vein slash like bruise kind of like nose like look above the bridge of the nose, and like with it, that little crevice in the eye. And then I do on the sides of the nose, because this is where their thinnest skin is, and on the sides of his chin, because that's where the thinnest skin is going to be, so it's going to be the most pale and like blue. And then I shade the ears, inside the ears, with the blue, and then I'll be doing the veins too. But I'm just going to mix it up, and I'm going to be doing the undertones. So I'm just going to paint it on, and it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just going to put where I want the blue to be, and then I'll be dabbing it around, mix, just blending it into the vinyl. Oh, and then I also, like, if I pounce it and drag it out, and then I kind of go around here a little bit if there's a little bit of excess, because that's like where his temples are, and sometimes there's like thinner skin there where the temples are. So I'm just gonna pounce it. Let me look at it. So yeah, you can see how it made a little bit of a difference. You can see a little bit of a shadow. It's kind of hard to see because anything that's wet is going to look a little bit darker. So it is like wet. But that is not dark enough for like the undertone, so I will be doing more layers. But I'm just going to do just one layer first. So now I'm going to go above the eyes and above the eye crack. And then I'm going to go below the eye and paint the whole bottom eyelid. So above the eye in the little crack and paint the whole bottom eyelid. And then I'm just going to pounce it as much as I can because it's hard to get in that crack. So then I'm just going to get my paintbrush and blend it out. And then I'm going to do on the sides of the nose, the sides of like the upper lip. And then I'm going to do the sides of the chin. And then I can let it dry a little bit because once it's dry, like it's having time to soak in down here. So I'm just going to like pounce it off so it has a little bit of time to soak in, to stain the vinyl a little bit. So then when I pounce it away, it'll be a little bit more pigmented. So it kind of has a lot of uneven surface here, so it's hard to get with a sponge. So I'm just going in, blending it out with my paintbrush so it doesn't just look like a line of blue. And that is a little bit darker. I'm going to mix my paint because it's very thin, so make sure you mix it up really well to get it all even. Dab it off a little bit, and then I'm going to be putting it down in the ear, just in the deepest spot, just to make a shadow, but just also to give the ears some depth. And then I'm just going to take my paintbrush and blend it out inside of there. I'm sorry if you can hear my neighbors upstairs because they're very loud. Because they like to walk with cement bricks on their feet, I guess. Okay, so then I'm gonna do it again. I'm just gonna go where I want it more dark. So I'm just putting some dabs there. And then I'm just blending it out. Blending it. Just blending it a little bit over on the temples just to have a little bit of pigment there. I'm just like smearing a little bit because it looked like it was sticking in that one spot, so I was just kind of pulling it over. Mix, mix, mix. Dab it off. Get up in there. Oh yeah, I forgot to do over the bridge of the nose. So I'm just going to put that over the bridge of the nose, and I'm going to let it sit there while I do the other parts of the eye so it can soak in and dye the vinyl. Pounce, pounce, pounce. Pounce, pounce, pounce. And I'm just gonna pounce that off because it would be hard to get off a sponge, so pounce off the blue that I left there. Get some more. Sorry about that. So I'm just kind of blending it in, blending it, blending it. Yeah, I'm just gonna let that be and then do the veins, and then okay, I was just checking out to see if there's any buildup, but I'm just gonna let that be, and if it looks like I'm just gonna wipe this off because it looks like there's a little bit of blue on his nose, so I'm just gonna wipe it off with a clean sponge. But I'm gonna let that be, and I'm gonna work on the veins, and then after I bake it, and then if it looks like it needs some more layers of like blue, I'm just gonna get it. It's hard to tell on camera, so you kind of have to just judge in person. I'm gonna get it like, I usually hold the doll head upside down because this gives me a different perspective, because when I look at it straight up, I'm just like, oh yeah, that's where the shadows are supposed to be. So I'm not seeing how dark they're supposed to be. So it really helps me if I hold it upside down and just like look at the shadows and look to see if the blues are dark enough. So it looks like they're a little bit like almost dark enough here and dark enough there, but I could probably add some more around its eyes and stuff. But I'm gonna do the veins, and then you kind of have to be the judge to your own doll that you're making and how dark you want it to be personally. But I just like want it that it looks like an almost healed bruise. Like you can like see it there, and like so it's like pigmented, but it's like blended in and it looks natural. Like you don't want like just blue anywhere. You don't want to see where it ends. You just want it to be like like a accent, is that what you say? Yeah, accent to like the shadows and like the creases of the face, if that makes sense to you guys. So now I'm just going to grab a thin brush. Let's see. So here is a thin brush, a super like small brush. I think it is like a size like 1 or something, or 2. So I'm just going to be dabbing it off so there's not like that much, and you just put the veins wherever you feel like they should be. I usually do like one like straggling to the temple, and then like a Y shape, so Y here, and then I usually do one like right on the forehead, and then I do more like right here, like crossing the temple, and then I go in the back and try to like connect them and just do a couple more in the back. But so I'll show that to you. So I'm gonna mix it up again, dab it off, and I kind of just start with, like, you just want to do it fast and like wiggly, because if you do it slowly, it's gonna look like not natural. It's gonna look like man-made, you know. So I'm just gonna do like one vein here, and then I'm gonna do one vein here and connect it, and then I'm gonna drag it back. So hopefully you can see that, like you can see the light, like because it's not that dark, so you can see the shininess of it. So it just goes right there. So now I'm going to grab the sponge that I was dabbing off, and I'm just gonna dab and like blend out the ends of it. So go to the end of the vein and just like pull it down and blend it out. And then I'm just gonna blend that out so you can't see where it goes. I don't want to blend the whole vein. I just want to blend where I stopped painting, so it looks like it just dissolves. So it doesn't look like it's just a vein and then stops and it doesn't go anywhere. It looks like it goes deeper within the skin. So I'm gonna do that again because it's not as dark as I want it. So I'm gonna very carefully but like fastly just paint over the vein. And just like I can build it up a little bit, so I'm just gonna be building it up. Try to follow the same pattern, and then I just drag it out longer than what it used to be so I can blend that out, and it doesn't, so it looks like it just blends out and goes deeper within the skin, and it doesn't just like stop, if that makes sense. So I'm just gonna blend it, just pat it in some places if it's too dark. And it's out, that looks pretty good. And after I bake it and see how it looks, I might just add it like a little bit more layers so it looks dark enough to my liking. So let's see. Let's do, like, usually they come and connect down by the nose and the eyes, whatever, in this like thin area. So I'm just gonna drag it from this eye and go around and up there. I'm gonna get more paint because that kind of dried up, so I'm just gonna go follow this around, and then maybe I'll do one connecting from here, just a little guy connecting on right there, just to make it more realistic. So I'm gonna blend this out, and I actually got pretty dark right here, so I'm gonna blend it out up there and then blend out the little one I connected on, and then I'm just gonna blend out this end, and I got some red on there, so I'm just gonna wipe it off. Okay, and then I'm going to mix up the paint again, tap it off, and then let's see, we'll do another one just like that. And that looks pretty light, so I'm just gonna get a little more paint and just follow that to make it dark enough. And then I'm gonna pull it up over the back. So we're gonna pounce that, blend it out, blend out this end. And then I'm gonna go to the back. That's how I turn the head, because I don't want to touch the top of the where I painted. I just like to keep my fingers in here and only touch this bottom ring, because if you touch it if you touch the vinyl, even if your hands are like clean, and even if you haven't painted it on here yet, like if your skin grease gets on the kit, then the paint might not stick to that area. So you just try not to, you don't want to try to touch the part you're painting on at all, like just trying to touch the ring down here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put a couple veins over here leading down the head, just so I can have some veins in the back of his head. And that one is pretty dark, so I'm just gonna blend it out all the way. see. Maybe I'll do one little one here. Just a small one. And yeah, I think that's good. Just gonna blend this one out. Looks like yeah. So I'm gonna make those areas a little bit darker if I want to, but I don't want to make this video too long. So that's the next step. I'm probably gonna bake it and then see if it needs a little bit more layers, just in case it's not dark enough. But I just can't look super close to it because like my camera's in front of me and stuff. So yeah, so then I'm gonna bake it and then come to the next step. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for the second. This is the second video. Stay tuned for the third video, and hopefully they're all in a playlist for you guys, so it's convenient for you. But thank you guys so much for liking. Please like and subscribe so you don't miss the other videos. And let me know if you have any questions about anything, the paint I use or the techniques or anything. Just let me guys know and I would be happy to answer them. So thank you guys for watching. Goodbye.